The meeting's live.
Welcome to the meeting of the Council. The seating plan of the Council chamber has been reorganised to provide as safe an environment as we can for members and officers in attendance. Please maintain a social distance if you can, and be aware that you are advised to wear a mask throughout the meeting. Please follow the directions from the community services and the COVID marshals on entry and exit from the building. Before the meeting starts, I'd like to invite the committee member and scrutiny manager to update you on the systems being used and confirm that officers in remote attendance are present. Will?
Thank you very much. I'll start by giving some procedural advice. This meeting is being audio recorded and filmed and live streamed to the Council's YouTube channel. Recordings will be available to view on the Council's website and the YouTube channel after the meeting has ended. If a member wishes to speak, they should use the speak button located on your microphone unit. The microphone unit will light up green and the chair will be alerted to your request to speak. When the chair invites you to speak, your microphone will be made live and will turn red, at which point you can speak. The normal procedure rules in respect of debate and times to speak will apply. When requested to vote, voting will be via the yes, no, abstain buttons on your microphone unit. Details of how members should vote will be shown on the screens around the room. In the event of a tied vote, the chair will have the casting vote. Are there any questions before we start? Right, thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you. Item 1, apologies for absence. Apologies for absence have been received from councillors Michael Weeks, John Bishop, Gary Grindle, Sam Collins, Lisa Nash, and Kate Hart. Councillor Jean Green sends her apologies and advised she may be joining the meeting late. Are there any other apologies? No? So we'll move on to item 2, the minutes. Minutes from the meeting 23rd of September 2021. I propose we take as read and approve as a true record of proceedings the minutes of the meeting on the 23rd of September 2021. Can I have a seconder? Thank you. Councillor Dennis-Harburg. Go to the vote.
Thank you, Chair. That's carried.
Thank you. Item 3, notification of any other business. I have none. Item 4, Chair's announcements. 1, audio recording. In accordance with Council policy, this meeting is being audio recorded as well as filmed. The audio recordings will be available to view on mod.gov and video via YouTube after the meeting. Climate emergency. Members are reminded that this council has declared a climate emergency. This is a serious decision and means that, as this is an emergency, all of us, officers and members, have that in mind as we carry out our various roles and tasks for the benefit of our district. Declarations of interest. Members are reminded to make declarations of interest before an item. The detailed reminder about this and speaking rights set out in the Chair's announcements on the agenda. Rules of debate. Please, can I remind you that the normal procedure rules in respect of debate and time to speak will apply. No speeches may be made after the mover has moved a proposal and explain the purpose of it until the motion has been seconded. When seconding a motion or amendment, a member may reserve their speech until later in the debate. In accordance with the Constitution, please can members ensure that no speech exceeds 5 minutes without the consent of the Chair. Extraordinary Council. Members are reminded that a special meeting of the Council is to be called for the 7th of December to discuss the results of the public consultation on the electoral cycle. Item 5, questions from the public. There are none. Item 6, motions on notice. There have been no motions submitted. Item 7, questions from members. There have been 2 questions submitted by members in accordance with the Standing Order 4.8.11b. First of all, we have a question from Councillor David Levett to Councillor Elizabeth Dennis-Harburg.
Thank you, Chair. My question is to Councillor Elizabeth Dennis-Harburg. North Hertfordshire has a long-standing tradition of involvement with the organisation of the Remembrance Day services in Letchworth Garden City and other North Hertfordshire towns, which have shown increased attendance from the community in recent years. Could the Leader of the Council please confirm what involvement NHD has had with the organisation of the Remembrance Day services this year, in particular any liaison with the Royal British Legion to ensure that these services that are much valued by the community take place? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Would you like to reply, Councillor Dennis-Harburg?
Yes, thank you very much, Chair. Now, I've got quite a lot of information, so if it gets tedious, do please stop me. I'm sure that members will be aware, given the amount of information that's been sent out through our weekly Members Information Service bulletins, what's been done around Remembrance Day this year. I can't talk with the mask on. I'm so sorry. It's going to get really irritating. So this year's process actually commenced way back in August, and officers were in contact with the previous year's organisers for each town and village, which usually holds a Remembrance Day parade or service, just the same as they do every year, in order to remind them of the processes that are involved. As the organisers started to put their applications together, some contacted us and let us know that there were issues with things like insurance cover, because the Royal British Legion's insurance could no longer be used for this particular purpose. Some were able to use things like the Parish Council insurance or Guides Association insurance instead. Some did say that they had been told that it was a civic duty and therefore everything should be organised by the council because other councils locally do that. In addition to having the necessary level of insurance, road closures can only be enforced by an accredited traffic management company or by the police. And organisers were contacted again during the process to let them know, excuse me, to say that the remembrance parades and services need to take place, as they're very important. So before issuing the closure, the council, North Herts Council, has to ensure that road closures are done safely. And I think the majority of the organisers do appreciate this. However, we do know that clearly communities are going to be disappointed if Remembrance Sunday events don't take place due to the high cost of accredited traffic management companies. Officers at this council have discussed with the police their availability to install and enforce road closures, and the majority of proposed events are now able to be supported in this way, which I think actually does also include Letchworth. If you've got specific follow-on questions perhaps around the Letchworth events, Councillor Levett, I've got further event-specific info on that. I can also email it over to you. But where was I? Because that was an aside. Okay, so members have, as I said at the beginning, already been informed through the weekly MIS bulletins what's been going on. I've got information from the police about what the police have done and their commitments as well. But I think, to cut a really long rambling answer to a quite pertinent question today short, this council's been liaising with community groups and doing everything we can to make sure that these events can take place this year since the summer.
Thank you, Councillor Dennis-Harburg. Councillor Levett, do you have a supplementary question?
Thank you, Chair. And thank you for the information on that one. And yes, I would be interested in a bit more about the Letchworth one in particular by email, because I believe the Heritage Foundation actually paid for the road closures and the insurance in that case because the council couldn't. So thank you for that information. But bearing all that in mind, why did you, as leader of the council, hang up the phone on the chairman of the Letchworth branch of the Royal British Legion when he was trying to discuss this with you?
Do you wish to respond to that?
I'm happy to respond to that. To my knowledge, I don't recall hanging up the phone to any particular member when I've spoken to them, and had my conduct ever been out of kilter with what would be expected from a councillor, I would expect any member of the public to follow the usual council complaints process.
Thank you. The second question is from Councillor Mike Hewson to Councillor Alan Albert. Councillor Hewson.
Thank you, Chair. Following the Chancellor's spending review statement on local authority funding, can the Executive Member for Finance and IT explain how this will impact North Herts Council and more especially residents and businesses in the district?
Thank you. Councillor Albert, would you like to respond?
Councillor Alan Albert will respond. Thank you, and thanks, Councillor Hewson, for the question. And I'm happy to provide publish a more detailed written answer if that will also be helpful. There are welcome points in the spending review, but what hasn't been addressed is the serious underfunding of local government. Looking back to our 2010-11 budget, we had 9.78 million of council tax funding and £8 million of government support. A total of 17.8 million, with 55% funded by council taxpayers. For 2021, we effectively had no government support. 11 million of council tax funding, 2 million of retained business rates, some new homes bonus, a total of 15.2 million, which is around just under 40% less than we received in real terms than in 2010-11. And effectively 77% had to be funded by council taxpayers. And most of those years were under Conservative administrations at national and district level. Now, the Chancellor announced new grant funding of 1.6 billion a year. We don't know yet whether this will just mainly go to fund social care. Government has promised it will fund the employer burdens on local authorities for increase in national insurance, and expected that this will need to come out of that grant funding I just mentioned. The retail, hospitality and leisure relief will be extended at 50% for 22-23. That's welcome. There was no announcement, though, on whether there would be an extension of additional funding to support authorities with the increased cost of localised council tax support. And it's unclear whether there will be business rates reset this year. A reset would remove any historic growth in the business rates base for a local authority. It's unclear if and when there will be a new local government funding formula. There was no news on any additional funding for the continuing impact of COVID-19. We have set aside money in the coming years for that, but that is a detriment to our overall reserves. There was no news on new homes bonus and its longer term future. And as set out in our medium-term financial strategy, we will assume that there will not be a funding formula in place for the next financial year and that negative RSG will not be applied. And until confirmed otherwise, we will assume that any new funding formula would have a similar redistributed effect to that. So therefore, at this stage, we cannot expect to receive any additional general grant funding beyond that which reimburses us for additional costs incurred. For our residents, that means we have to continue on the basis of potentially finding next year savings of 200,000 and up to 1.8 million over the next 4 years. Now, while we will continue to look at ways of generating income and delivering transformation savings, realistically, we all recognise we have to consider that there will be difficult choices ahead. And for all district councils across Hertfordshire, it's very likely that any increases in funding will come from increases in the council tax and business rates paid by our residents and businesses. Government, and I want to be very clear about this, has built into its funding assumptions that all councils will increase their council tax. But despite the challenges that face us, this joint administration will continue to protect the services that our residents value: green spaces, leisure services, our community and housing outreach, and so much more. And we will continue to fix the mess left behind by the last Conservative administration, who cut services to unacceptable levels.
Thank you, Councillor Albert. Can I ask not to have noises like that? Councillor Hewson, have you got a supplementary question?
Yes, thank you, Chair, and thank you, Councillor Albert, for that detailed answer and for all the work you and your team are doing in these difficult times. It's obviously clear that government has forced local authorities into increasing council tax by starving them of funds. Perhaps for the record, Councillor Albert, could you also explain how the council has provided additional support to residents with their council tax payments over the last year?
Yeah, and thanks, Councillor Hewson. And I'm really proud of the work done by the staff of this council to support our residents most in need, and especially those through the council tax reduction scheme. And I don't also want to forget the work done to pay out quickly millions of pounds of grants to businesses during the lockdown periods. Under the leadership of this joint administration, we have developed and implemented with partners like Citizens Advice and the Money Advice Trust our fair collection policy, which is an exemplar for what all local authorities should do. This means we will work with our customers to help them with long-term payment arrangements when they're in difficulty. But over and above this, for money received for our council tax debt support, we designed a scheme whereby every working age claimant on the council tax reduction scheme received a £150 deduction in their liability. Nearly 4,500 individuals and families overall benefited from that hardship support. And we're now looking to make a further credit of up to £100 to every working age claimant with a residual council tax balance. This could benefit up to nearly 3,000 people across our district on our current caseload. That's how this joint administration will continue to run North Herts, taxing fairly and spending wisely.
Thank you, Councillor Albert. Item 8. Items referred from other committees. 8A, referral from Licensing and Regulation Committee, Statements of Gambling Licensing Principles 2022 to 2025. I will take this referral with item 9. Item 9, Statement of Gambling Licensing Principles. Councillor Daniel Allen to present and propose. Councillor Allen.
Thank you very much, Chair. The licensing manager presented the report entitled Draft Statement of Gambling Licence Principles 2022 to 2025, along with appendices A and B. He drew attention to the following. The policy could only be adopted by full council, but as the specialist committee, it was presented here to consult on the views of the committee. Licensing conditions and awards were limited by the statutory licensing objectives, but the policy included sections where the authority could encourage positive developments, including those around the environment. The policy also works towards helping customers on a multi-agency basis to resolve issues outside the remit of the licensing objectives. There are not a large number of gambling premises in the district, which was valid. Councillor Jim McNally proposed, Councillor Richard Thake seconded, and we recommend to the council that the council adopt the policy as attached at Appendix A.
Thank you, Councillor Allen. Can I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Clark. Should we continue the debate? I've got no speakers at the moment. Nobody wishes to speak on this issue. Sorry. Oh, sorry. Do apologise, Councillor Allen.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to say how efficient the licensing team were with this and put across my thanks to Steve Cobb for his support and way he put this together.
Thank you. Anybody else like to speak? Okay, so the recommendations that council adopts the Statement of Gambling Licensing Principles 2022 to 2025 as attached at Appendix A. Can we have the vote, please, Will?
Thank you, Chair. That's carried.
Thank you. Item 10, Constitutional Amendment. Jeanette Thompson to present.
Thank you, Chair. A fairly minor amendments report where I'm asking members to approve the delegated decision amendments that were made in October, and also a very small additional amendment. In terms of clarification, it is the delegated decision of 21st that was notified on the 22nd, not of the 22nd. Subject to it should have read in relation to revenues and benefits manager, actual revenues manager. So I'm asking you to endorse it with that slight change. And also there's an additional amendment that's been sought or suggested by the Customer Services Service Director in relation to increasing the level of compensation potentially that the managing director can make from £1,000 to £2,000. And happy to answer any questions in relation to that, Chair. Can I have a seconder, please? Oh, sorry. Proposer.
Yep, I'm happy to propose.
Thank you, Councillor Dennis-Harburg. A seconder.
Happy to second, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Clark. Debate. No? Okay, shall we go to the vote?
That's carried unanimously, Chair.
Thank you. Item 11, Independent Member of Finance, Audit and Risk Committee. Councillor Keith Hoskins to present and propose.
Thank you, Chair. This report seeks council approval for there to be an independent member of the Finance, Audit and Risk Committee. The reasons for this are set out in paragraph 8.4 of the report, but essentially it's so that we are following best practice. The matter has been discussed and supported at FAR, and the recommendation sets out the various practical steps and decisions required with the aim of having someone in post for the first meeting of the next civic year. So I will propose. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I have a seconder?
I'm happy to second.
Councillor Albert's a second. Is it Councillor Billings? Sorry. Should we go to debate? No debate. Should we go to the vote? Sorry, that was a late call. Councillor Strong?
Yes, sorry about my lateness. Just looking at the idea to recruit this person, how is and I noticed in there that there's going to be instruct to recruit the person in consultation with the chair of the Finance, Audit and Risk Committee, but how exactly will that be done? Well, how are we going to go out there and reach out to find this independent person? Perhaps you could have a little bit more detail on that, perhaps, Councillor Hoskins.
Okay. Councillor Hoskins, would you like to reply?
Yeah, I'm going to ask Ian Cooper to come in on this, if he will, please. I mean, I'm not going around the marketplace with sandwich boards on, so I'm sure he has a better idea of.
Is Ian Cooper there?
Yes, I'm here. Yes, I'm here. Thank you, Chair. So we will adopt some of the practices that we adopt by the council, such as Stevenage. We will look to put an advert out and we'll put it on the website, and we'll also look at other places that might help us to attract people. And then we'll go for a sort of steady standard recruitment process. There'll be a job advert and then a sort of short interview stage. And then we'll select the best candidates sort of using basic kind of general HR practices will be what we'll follow.
Thank you. Did you all catch the first sentence? Can I ask Ian Cooper, could you just repeat your first sentence because you were on very low and then we turned you up?
That's fine. So I covered the first sentence. So I said that we would look to adopt similar practices to what other local authorities have done. So we've got some evidence from Stevenage, the process they went through. We'll look to use that and some experience of the county council as well. They've already gone through the process. but essentially, as I described, it would be a case of a fairly sort of standard kind of HR type recruitment process.
Thank you. Any other contributions? No? Right, can we go to the vote, please?
Thank you, Chair. That's carried.
Thank you. Item 12. Use of emergency in relation to calling for a decision on business rate pooling. In Cooper to present, please.
Thank you, Chair. Am I on loud now? So this relates to a decision that was made by Cabinet and delegated to myself and the Executive Member for Finance and IT. Relates to business rate pooling. The information required to make a decision on that was only available on the afternoon of the 7th of October. The decision required by the end of the day on the 8th of October. So it was required to make a decision urgently to potentially hopefully benefit from some significant benefits from pooling. And therefore, if we'd had to wait for the 5-day potential call-in period, we would not be able to make that decision appropriately. So therefore, I sought a request from the Chair of Council to not have that call-in apply in line with the Constitution. And in line with the Constitution, I'm now reporting the fact that that power was used to full Council as required.
Thank you. Can I have a proposer, please? Councillor Albert to propose and a seconder.
Chair, happy to second.
Thank you, Councillor North. Should we go into the debate? One meeting, please. Should we go to the vote?
Thank you, Chair. That's carried.
Thank you. That is the business of the council concluded, and this meeting is closed.